Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Good morning and welcome to Liverpool, where the results of the Labour leadership contest will be revealed very soon. The party's members are making a choice, as you know, between Jeremy Corbyn and Owen Smith after a pretty bitter contest, it has to be said. And nearly 500,000 people have cast their vote. If he is re-elected as Labour leader in about 45 minutes' time, Jeremy Corbyn has told me this morning he will reach out to his opponents, to MPs, to everyone, he said. I'm very generous. Yet his challenger, Owen Smith, has already refused to serve in a Corbyn shadow cabinet if he loses. Big question, can the party pull itself back together? We will bring you the result and all the reaction from the party's MPs, members and from around the country. Let's talk straight away to Norman Smith, who is here, our assistant political editor. So, the confidence in Jeremy Corbyn's camp is high, and they think he could do even better than last year.
It's sky high, to be honest. I came up on the train last night with Jeremy Corbyn. This is one man who looked uber relaxed, very self-confident, and you talk to people in his team, and I think they think they're on course to win, and to win big time. Now, last time he got 59%. I think they can push that up to 65%, which would be a resounding victory, and it would be a shattering blow to all his critics, and it probably would make him bomb-proof for the rest of this Parliament. So all those Labour MPs, and there are those who think we're going to have another go at him, he's the problem, we've got to get rid of him, I think that is game over for them. There is no prospect they can move against him again after that size of victory. And you look at all the things they've tried. They put up candidates against him. They've tried to change the rules. They tried to stampede him into standing down when they all resigned from his front bench. They try to keep him off the ballot paper. I mean, they have done everything to beat this man. And if he comes back with an even bigger majority, then he's there at least until the general election. Now, that kind of raises the next question, which is the critical one. So how does he bring this party together? And that is the really acid test he now faces. Yes, he can mobilise, he can galvanise people, but can he bring this party together? And there, the jury is out, and it's a much, much harder task.
So I spoke to one MP, Heidi Alexander, who used to be Jeremy Corbyn's health spokesperson. And I said to her, what does he have to do to bring you back on board? And she said, really emphatically, he has to offer shadow cabinet elections, i.e. us the chance to vote for people to be in that shadow cabinet. Quote, that's his only chance.
It is. It is the litmus test for many of the mainstream Labour MPs. He does that, then they are in a very difficult position, because if Jeremy Corbyn was to say, OK, I know you're unhappy, I take on board your concerns, I tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to let you choose my shadow cabinet. What a gesture, what pressure it puts on Labour MPs. How do they turn away and go off in a sulk and say, well, we're still not happy? I mean, that really cranks up the pressure on them to come on board. And already we've heard, voices like Andy Burnham saying, come on, if Jeremy Corbyn gives you that, you've got to get on board and you've got to be constructive. The problem is, I don't think Mr. Corbyn's going to do that. Indeed, I was speaking to one of the people close to him who said to me this morning, it's a distraction. It's come out of the blue. It's the last minute. It's a big rule change. In other words, do not hold your breath. And I think what we're going to see happen when the NEC meets this evening is they're going to say to him, will you allow Labour MPs to elect the shadow cabinet? And he's going to hoof it off into the middle distance into Never Never Land. Yeah. And what that means is the unity already begins to fray.
Again, just talking to John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor, just as he's finished his breakfast this morning, he said, look, MPs who've been critical in the past, come and have a cup of tea with me. We can work this out, and we're going to have, there's no rush by the sounds of things, we're going to have a consultation on democratic reform in answer to the question about whether they will bring back shadow cabinet elections.
It would be lovely if Labour's problems were just so simple that the odd cup of tea would sort it out. They are so entrenched and so deep I mean, this is a massive task.
But on the other hand, Norman, if Jeremy Corbyn increases his mandate from 12 months ago, those Labour MPs should get in line, plenty of members will be saying.
Well, here's the thing. Some Labour MPs think the problem, bluntly, is Mr Corbyn, that there is no resurrection for the Labour Party so long as he remains leader. And they take the view nothing fundamentally has changed with this election. His approach isn't going to change. He's still going to be the same old Jeremy. In fact, he said it the other day. He was asked, you know, what are you going to do differently? He said, well, I'm the same old Jeremy. That is the problem. They think he's not up to it as leader, he's not organised, but worst of all, he is leading the party in precisely the wrong direction, which is, I mean, in some ways, it's sort of reinventing the Labour Party away from its sort of emphasis on being a parliamentary organisation, from being a credible opposition poised to become a government, into becoming this different beast, a sort of social movement. It's an entirely different concept. And they think that is catastrophe. They think Mr Corbyn can galvanise, you know, a significant number of people, and he has.
Yeah.
But that is not the same as reaching out to the millions of people who don't give a toss about politics. They don't think about it until election time. It's irrelevant. And their real fear is he's not speaking to the people who elect government. So there's a fundamental clash, and Mr Corbyn is at the centre of it. And many Labour MPs think he has to go before Labour can recover.
And to win a general election, those Labour MPs is saying, we have to win over Conservative voters,
Yep.
we have to win over UKIP voters, and they just don't think Jeremy Corbyn is the man to do that because his policies are too far on the left.
Yeah. I mean, Mr Corbyn, in a funny sort of way, is a genuine small R revolutionary. He is totally trying to change British politics. He believes he can do it differently. He doesn't have to talk to people like me or you. He doesn't have to bother with the mainstream media. He can go directly to people through social media, through his own army of party activists, and he believes through them engaging in local community campaigns, opposing closure of libraries, all that sort of local grassroots stuff. You can influence people, you can change opinion. It's a totally different way of doing politics. If he's right, then, you know, who knows what could happen. If he's wrong, and his MPs think he is wrong, then their fear is the party is heading to utter annihilation, potentially terminal annihilation of the next election.
Okay, well, we're expecting the results at about 11:45. Obviously, we will bring that to you live here on BBC News. Now, I think it's probably a good time to have a look at how Labour have got to this point, this second leadership contest within 12 months.
But here it is, 10 o'clock, and we are saying the Conservatives are the largest party.
Britain needs a Labour Party that can rebuild after this defeat, and now it's time for someone else to take forward the leadership of this party.
251,000.
It doesn't have to be unfair. Poverty isn't inevitable. Things can, and they will, change.
Have you changed your position on airstrikes? In the car. Mr Corbyn, will you allow your MPs a free vote? Actually very rude the way you behave.
Why is Adolf Hitler a vote winner, sir?
You Nazi apologists. You Nazi apologists are rewriting history.
The British people have spoken, and the answer is we're out.
Remain or leave. Many people felt that politics wasn't working for them.
This was a test of leadership. He was very half-hearted in the leadership he gave to Labour under it.
He's a good and decent man.
So was it hard?
He's a good and decent man, but he is not a leader.
It might be in my party's interest for him to sit there. It's not in the national interest, and I would say, for heaven's sake, man, go!
Don't let those people who wish us ill divide us. Stay together, strong and united for the kind of world we want to live in. Thank you very much.
Words are not enough. We need deeds. Great to be anti-austerity, great to have that slogan. What is it we're going to do to try and change things in this country?
What camera am I? Okay. Am I on this camera? Let me just say straight up, look, let me just say this. We've got to stop this now.
all solutions to these sorts of international crises do come about through dialogue.
Today this train is completely ram-packed.
Owen Smith has just arrived here at the conference hall in Liverpool in the last few minutes. Hopefully you'll be able to see pictures right now. There he is. Let me see if I can see the expression on his face. No, I cannot. I cannot tell you if he's... Who knows if he's feeling confident or not. You saw Heidi Alexander just behind him, who was supporting him. Who I had a chat with a little earlier, who was very clear that Jeremy Corbyn had to offer shadow cabinet elections. That would be the only way. She said he could bring his critical MPs back on board. We were due to talk to an Owen Smith supporting MP, but she's stuck in a queue at the moment, so if she arrives, we will bring her into our conversation with Clive Lewis, who is here. He's an MP, he's a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn, very close to Mr Corbyn, and also Shadow Defence Secretary. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Also with us, John Ashworth, MP for Leicester South. Hello, driven up this morning from Leicester.
Yes.
And you have a place in Jeremy Corbyn's Shadow Cabinet, but you haven't backed either candidate because of your place on Labour's ruling governing body, effectively. You didn't think it would be appropriate.
Nope, absolutely.
Okay, Clive Lewis, what are you expecting then in about half an hour's time?
I think if listening to the media and the commentary is to go by Jeremy Corbyn will win. I don't know what the margin will be by. And I think we are all hoping that from there, I think the message Andy Burnham put out this morning in the media, which is that the party really just has to get together. It can't go through another year like your video was showing just then.
You don't want this to be an annual contest.
No, I think how is that going to help us gain, want of a better word, momentum as we begin to move forwards? As we begin to move forwards towards whenever the general election is, it can't tolerate that. It can't carry on like that. And to be quite frank, speaking to most members, most colleagues that I've come across, they're tired of it. They're worn out. And I think they want to move forward and start finding the things that we do agree on. And I think that's one of the key differences between now and the 1980s, which so many people compare this to. Ideologically, I think most of the party, when it comes to education, the NHS, public ownership of rail, the economy, investing in the economy, there's broad consensus across the party. So let's try and focus on that and move forward, because I think we actually, when we do come together, we're a lot stronger, and we can actually begin to take on what I think is a very fractious Conservative Party who's brought us onto the cusp of a constitutional and economic disaster potentially with Brexit. We can hold into account, we should be holding into account, and we should be looking like a credible government. And I think we can do that if we come together.
Are you worn out, John Ashworth?
Am I worn out? Well, I've just got here. No, I think party members want us now to start focusing on these Tories, because when you look at what the Tories are doing, they're in a mess on their fiscal rules. Just a year ago, they said they had a long-term economic plan and they're going to bounce the books.
Are your fellow MPs ready to unite behind Mr Corbyn should he be announced the winner in half an hour's time?
I think MPs want us to be taking on the Tories. I hope we can.
But the question was, are they ready to unite behind Mr Corbyn should he win?
Well, I think they will recognise that Jeremy has won, and I anticipate he will win. I suspect he'll win by quite a handsome margin. There's been speculation of 65 to 70% on Twitter this morning, but we'll see. So I hope they do unite. But equally, I want Jeremy.
You don't sound very confident. I've got to be honest, Mr Ashworth.
Well, let me just finish. Jeremy, I think, also should engage in these discussions that have been offered about having some elected form of shadow cabinet. Not the whole shadow cabinet. That would be silly. But some form. We had an NEC meeting this week where we said we'd like to try and have some discussions, ideally to get to a position by the NEC meeting that's going to be tonight. I've been having discussions behind the scenes, and I've been urging Jeremy and his team to engage positively in these negotiations. I hope we can get somewhere on it.
Okay, but not by 6 o'clock tonight, presumably, or are you saying that's possible? I saw the Deputy Leader, Tom Watson, he said, I don't think a resolution is possible by 6 p.m. tonight when you have this other meeting.
Well, I've not seen what Tom Watson has said. Well, I hope so, because on the Tuesday National Executive meeting, we said, let's try and see if we can get somewhere by Saturday. So I'm an optimist in life, so I'm keeping my fingers
John
crossed.
McDonnell told me about an hour and a half ago, he said we're going to open a consultation. We're not going to rush it because we don't want to bounce either side into
Well,
it.
I think the issue is, and John will understand this, is that when we go back to Parliament in a couple of weeks' time, we've got to fill the 60 vacant places on the front bench. We've got great ministers. Clive has been rapidly promoted. He's doing a great job, you know. But we need our other colleagues in there. And if this is a way of getting colleagues to come back, I think we've got to positively engage in it.
Okay, what's Mr. Corbyn going to do? You know, you're in his inner circle.
This is the situation we find ourselves in. I often say this: the Parliamentary Labour Party isn't homogenous, and I think the vast bulk of people now understand that if Jeremy Corbyn wins again for a second time, having a year like we had isn't acceptable. And I think there are more people now who are going to say, OK, we understand that perhaps some of us, many of us, didn't quite give you the chance that you deserved. We're going to give you that now, but that requires something to do with trust. And I think in a conflict resolution, both sides have to say, OK, you didn't really play very fair last time, and there were things that we perhaps didn't do right last time. Let's try and put those to the side. Let's try and come together. And that does take a bit of trust, because what Jeremy Corbyn's going to have to do, he may well win today very handsomely. What he's going to have to do is effectively, if he does allow elected shadow cabinet members onto his shadow cabinet, then that means that he is going to be saying, OK, I'm going to trust you, but you're not going to spend the time boxing me in, you're not going to spend the time undermining me, going through the process and the rigmarole that we did in the first shadow cabinet. And I think that's a leap of faith that he will have to take, potentially, but it has to be...
Will he do that?
I don't know his mind, but I think there's going to have to be a meeting somewhere in the middle.
You know what the mood music is? Is he heading towards that, would you say?
I don't think anyone in the leader's office want to see things carry on as they are, and I think that's a powerful incentive.
So what you're
move.
saying is there is onus on Jeremy Corbyn to compromise, and there's the onus on those critical backbench MPs to compromise.
It can't be used. If it goes ahead, if something like that is sorted out, what it can't be is a platform to basically spend another year undermining the leader.
So the deal would be, we'll give you some shadow cabinet elections, backbench MPs, you can vote for who you want in the top team as long as you don't criticise me publicly.
It's a possibility. I'm not making that call.
It's a possibility. But you're suggesting that's a possibility.
And in fact, I think that's absolutely fair and absolutely spot on. And that is the approach that I've been taking when I've been sort of talking to people behind the scenes this week. But ultimately, what we've also got to remember this week is it's all very interesting, you know, what me and Clive think and other Labour MPs think. It's what the public think. And we might have a general election next year, I don't know, but we've certainly got important county council elections, mayoral elections here in Liverpool, Scottish council elections. The party has got to focus on them, and we've got to go and speak to people in the country and get them to vote Labour next year. That's the big thing. That's the big message we've got to take from this conference this week.
How do you explain, Clive Lewis, Jeremy Corbyn being so attractive to certain people, which has swelled the Labour membership, no problem recruiting members, but when it comes to the wider electorate, he's just not popular?
It's funny, I was on a taxi on the way here, and a guy, my taxi driver, a working class Liverpudlian taxi driver, says, "So, who are you supporting?" And it's anecdotal, and everyone tells anecdotal stories, okay? And I thought, okay, here we go. And I said, "I'm supporting Jeremy Corbyn." He said, "Good." He said, "Because I'm a working class person, and I'm so pleased. I hope you keep Jeremy Corbyn, because he's talking in a way that we haven't heard politicians speak. And to be quite frank, we're sick and tired of the same old rubbish. We want something different."
He's the only leader of the opposition, excluding Michael Foot, since the 1970s who's had negative ratings from the start of his tenure and has carried on all the way through.
Let's look at the start of his tenure. He was not far off of the incumbent at the time. I remember seeing the figures. He was slightly below. He was a new person. Many people didn't know him, and he'd also had a pretty negative media profile in his way up on the leadership election. I think what you can't take out of that equation, though, is the fact that the public do not like, as Jonathan was saying, divided parties. That is going to have an impact. Jeremy Corbyn is the face of the Labour Party at the moment. He dominates the media headlines.
So
if you have a divided
the party unites, and you say those negative ratings will turn to positive.
I think if the party unites, we're going to start moving in the right direction. And of course, it's incumbent upon Jeremy Corbyn to also play his part in helping move those ratings in the right direction.
Final thought from you, John Ashworth. How will you measure success should Jeremy Corbyn win?
Well, we've got to start making good progress in next year's election. I'm not going to set some ridiculous, target and then say, "Oh, look, he's missed it." But we have to be making significant progress in the types of constituencies that decide general elections. And all the energy that we've seen in this leadership campaign, apparently there were 40,000 people working on Jeremy's campaign, volunteers. We've seen some great stuff online. Let's now take that and target it at the people we need to win in the country. And if we can do that, that will be a really positive outcome.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you very much, John Ashworth and Clive Lewis. Thank you. Right, let's cross to Vicky Young, who is at a rally just up the road, about a mile away from here. Hi, Vicky. Morning.
Hi there. Yeah, this is a festival really going on here. It's going to be 4 days of looking at politics, looking at culture, and it really is a carnival atmosphere here. Lots of people crowding into a very hot room to see the result. They all expect and hope Jeremy Corbyn to be re-elected as leader. Let's speak now to one of the organisers of this event, Hattie Craig. Tell me why you're doing this.
This event is mainly to kind of bring together the much wider social movement which exists in Britain, all the people who've been involved in grassroots groups and campaigns, and to reconnect them with the Labour Party, and basically to bring in ordinary people who might not have been engaged in the politics that you see in Westminster, but who would be interested in hearing talks and discussions on issues relevant to their lives, seeing political art, seeing film screenings, and really it's just to bring together as many different voices as possible and give them a platform.
Now, there has been some controversy around, momentum around this kind of thing, people saying this is a rival, this is rivaling the Labour Party conference, you're actually trying to undermine it. What do you say to that?
Absolutely not. You know, there's a fringe for Labour Party conference every single year, and it's part of a long-standing tradition of the conference, and so we are taking part as part of that fringe event. This is not a conference, it's not decision-making, this is here to be a place for discussion, a place for art, a place for culture, and it's to complement the conference, not as a rival.
Now, how would you describe Jeremy Corbyn's appeal? We have seen since he became leader, thousands more people joining the Labour Party. What do you think it's down to?
I think it's because he offers a different vision for society. He offers a sense of hope and a reconnection to ordinary people. You know, he comes across as being very different from most politicians. He's an ordinary man. He doesn't claim massive expenses. You know, he hasn't been a banker or had a high-flying kind of previous job in a financial sector. And I think he speaks to people, and the policies that he is putting forward on the table are just so very different from what we've seen from Labour for so many years. And I think they're really inspiring people.
And what have you felt about the last year, about what's been going on in the Labour Party? We know that, of course, most of his MPs walked out on him. How can they now come back together?
I found it very disappointing the way that the Parliamentary Labour Party has behaved in the last year. I think that it's very important that our elected representatives respect the mandates that the leadership is given by the members. So I would like to see, you know, in this period, hopefully a reconciliation process where MPs respect the democratic mandate which Jeremy Corbyn has been given, and Jeremy Corbyn brings those people back in as well.
Hattie Craig, thank you very much indeed. So everyone getting pretty excited now before that result. 750 people here, we're just being told.
Can we have a round of applause for Liverpool Socialist Party?
Cheers, Vicky. Thank you for the moment. Right, back here in the conference centre, Norman, who are you with?
Hey, Vic. So I'm with Matt Rack of the Fire Brigades Union and Dave Anderson, member of the Shadow Cabinet. Got two jobs at the moment. Let's talk Shadow Cabinet. From your point of view, how critical is it that members of the Labour Parliamentary Party, Labour MPs, can elect the Shadow Cabinet, or is it all irrelevant?
No, it's very relevant how we go about it. But what we need to do is have a proper look, which is exactly what the National Executive Committee agreed last week. They're going to have a look at a number of options and work through a situation where we can come together and have a Shadow Cabinet that reflects all parts of the party, which is what we really need.
The idea of just having Labour MPs electing the Shadow Cabinet, is that acceptable?
Well, as I said before, we're in the middle of a review, and I think the review will say, is there a mechanism by which members can take part? Is there a role for the leader to be able to appoint some people? And then also, can me and my colleagues also say who we want to elect? Because I think that gives a broad base for us.
Sure, but you will know there are some Labour MPs who say unless they can elect who goes to the Shadow Cabinet, they're not rejoining the front bench.
Well, that's their choice. But, you know, we're a member-based party. We've got 600,000 members. Surely those people should have some say in this, in what we do and how we work and how best we pull together in the rest about not just the party, but our country. That's what this week's all about. How best do we serve this country?
OK, Matt Rack, you're a Corbyn supporter, what do you say to those Labour MPs who, despite the expected win for Mr Corbyn today, say, no, I don't think we're going to get back on board?
Well, let's see what happens today. We haven't got the result yet. I hope Jeremy's re-elected, and I hope that if that is the outcome, that people will unite around it. I mean, we won an election just a year ago. Unfortunately, some people seem not to have accepted that outcome. I think in the trade union movement and among Labour Party members, there will be very much a mood to get around those ideas and those policies that people have voted for.
And if, we haven't got the result yet, but if Mr Corbyn wins, does that make him politically bomb-proof in terms of future possible challenges before the next election?
Well, I'm not accountable for what other people do. I was surprised that this election happened. I think it was unnecessary in such a short space of time after the last leadership election. But that was what happened. If people want to do that again, that's a matter for them. I would hope not. Clearly, the job working people want to see is taking on the Tories, who are devastating public services, attacking our rights, and that's what we want to see Labour Party in Parliament leading on.
And just this leadership election, how damaging has it been for the party?
I think it has been somewhat damaging. I think the discord in the parliamentary Labour Party has been the primary source of that, and I think a lot of MPs have gone back to the constituencies and felt very clearly the views of Labour Party members, that many Labour Party members and trade unionists didn't think this was necessary and should have been avoided.
What do you think has been the impact on the Labour Party of having this contest?
We've spent 3 months internal navel gazing when we should have been out there attacking the Tory government. We've got a man who walked away, Prime Minister, who gave this country the biggest headache it's ever had, and he walks away. And what are we doing? We are arguing amongst each other. My colleagues have got to get back on board and do what we pay to do. Get into Parliament, work together and oppose this government and put forward a platform so the people of this country can have an alternative to what we've had for the last 6 years.
Dave Anderson, Matt Wright, thanks very much for your time. I'll let you get on into the conference hall. You can just see people beginning now to trickle in, Vic, to head into the conference hall. They've got well, they better get a move on. They'll have to get a shift in. And I think Tom Watson also, Vic, has just arrived at the conference centre, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we saw some pictures of him walking in. Thank you very much, Norman, for the moment. We've got 5 Labour members here. Alice is actually a councillor and a Labour member. James, what have you made of this contest?
Well, I find that it has got in the way of a lot of activities. We've had to suspend meetings because of intimidation, and I think, you know, it has stalled the party for quite some time. But I mean, I'm not happy with Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, and I think it was essential to try and encourage a debate around where the party is heading.
Have you been intimidated by someone?
I have, yeah. I've received threats of intimidation in the party.
Verbally?
Verbally,
online?
and it's mostly on social media, actually.
And you think that's because you're an Owen Smith supporter?
I don't define myself as an Owen Smith supporter. I have voted for him, but I think that's because I'm not a part of the exclusive Momentum group that I find myself being a victim of abuse.
Abdi, hello. What have you made of this contest?
Well, I think this contest was needed because the PLP of the Parliamentary Labour Party didn't have confidence in Jeremy Corbyn. And I think what we see at the party is now a divide between the members of Parliament and the members of the party. And I think, you know, we did need this to clarify that, and I think this has clarified that, and I think now is the time to unite behind the leader who's elected today.
Okay, are you expecting that to be Jeremy Corbyn? Or...
I'm expecting it to be Owen Smith.
Are you?
I'm still optimistic.
You think Owen Smith can still win?
I still think that, yeah, we can still win it, you know.
Okay. Alice, hello. You supported Jeremy Corbyn last time, you've supported him this time.
And I'll support him again if I have to.
Yeah, you don't want this to become an annual thing, though, presumably, do you?
No, and it's less than annual, isn't it? It's ridiculous. It's a waste of time, a waste of resources. The Labour Party is better than this, and I'm so glad Jeremy stuck with it, because I'll stick with him.
Phelan, what has this contest achieved, do you think?
I think it's achieved nothing. I think it's damaged the Labour Party's chances electorally. We were neck and neck with the Tories in the polls before this coup, and then after the coup now we're about 12 points behind them. And this coup didn't have to happen. The Tories were in a disarray after the Brexit vote, elected a new leader. We could have got behind our leader and supported him, so we could have had one over on the Tories and united and put a real opposition to the Tories, and said MPs decided that they wanted to take that opportunity the Tories elect a new leader, for us to elect a new leader. But it's not going to happen because the party overwhelmingly still supports Jeremy Corbyn.
And should Jeremy Corbyn's name be announced as the winner, how will you feel?
I'll be made up because I support Jeremy Corbyn.
Made up, yeah. Poona, what about yourself? You're an Owen Smith supporter.
Yeah, I honestly didn't see the point of this leadership election because I thought that it would only lead to the people who support Corbyn to be galvanised and he would increase his majority and therefore the Parliamentary Labour Party would therefore be more fractured. But seeing the testimonies of different MPs and saying how that they cannot communicate with Jeremy Corbyn, I was compelled to vote for Owen Smith even though I know he's not going to win.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you. Not long to go now. It is 11:29, so we're expecting the outcome in around 15 minutes' time, but these things are often inevitably a little later than scheduled. Let's take a closer look then at the two men who want the job of leading Labour, starting with Mr Corbyn.
I eat my sandwiches on the train and I feel like Jeremy Corbyn. I ride my bicycle in the rain and I feel like Jeremy Corbyn.
He's been a fixture of British politics for 40 years. A regular at marches, a champion of causes.
There are social solutions to the problems and the solution is socialism at the end of the day.
Jeremy Corbyn's political life started in the 1970s, a trade union organiser and Labour councillor in London.
Peace to the world!
In 1983, just as Margaret Thatcher was winning a huge majority, he entered Parliament. He's held his seat ever since, winning last time with a 21,000 majority. But he was always a critic of New Labour, voting against the party line more than 500 times.
The enormous death toll.
More recently, he chaired the Stop the War coalition and became a leading figure in the anti-austerity movement. Still, no one gave him a chance when he entered the contest to succeed Ed Miliband as Labour leader.
For all of us.
His campaign started attracting large crowds. Many were younger voters.
251,000.
In the end, he won decisively.
Things can, and they will, change.
Jeremy Corbyn!
The new leader promised a new type of politics.
I sent out an email to thousands of people and asked them what questions they would like to put to the Prime Minister.
But while he had the support of Labour members, Jeremy Corbyn has never had the full backing of his own MPs. There were clashes over his policies on Syria and a new generation of nuclear weapons. The row came to a head after the EU referendum. One after another, his top team walked out. There was a vote of no confidence and a challenge to his leadership.
I've served in the best way I can. Today I had to go.
But he refused to quit and stood again for re-election. The Labour Party saw a big increase in its membership, but the contest was at times bad-tempered. There were allegations of abuse on both sides.
Today this train is completely ram-packed.
There was a row over space on the train network. He was accused of exaggeration.
You're holding up the Pokemon, you have to move aside.
There were lighter moments, a game of Pokemon and a poor grasp of TV trivia.
Do you know who these two men are?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No.
No idea?
I cannot name them, I'm really sorry.
Now, opinion polls suggest an easy victory for Jeremy Corbyn. No longer the outsider. This time, he's the firm favourite.
And we'll have a look at Owen Smith in just a second. Let me introduce you to Anushka Astana, who is joint political editor of The Guardian, and also Jim Waterson, who is political editor of BuzzFeed News. If Jeremy Corbyn wins bigger than a year ago, then what?
Well, then the role for him is to try and unite the party and see whether or not he can actually get some more MPs behind him. There's going to be this crunch meeting of the party's national executive here tonight. And I don't think Jeremy Corbyn is ready to sign up to any deal about how he puts together his shadow cabinet, particularly if, as you say, as is well expected, he does even better than last year. But he does have to still operate in Westminster, and his people know that.
What's the issue for you, Jim? Should Jeremy Corbyn be confirmed as leader again in a few minutes' time?
Well, as he's almost likely to. The main issue now for the anti-Corbyn members of the party and activists is whether they even bother to remain within the Labour Party.
Yeah.
If, as expected, they get completely trounced, then what we'll see is an effort to try and keep people within the party. If you're an Owen Smith supporter, they'll try and reach out to you and try and convince you to keep paying your membership sub in case of another leadership election. But basically, they've got a long way back. There's a lack of ideas, there's a lack of structure. The left in the party, Corbyn's campaign has all of those. They've got ideas, momentum, they've got everything.
OK, well, let's have a look at Owen Smith then, virtually unknown outside Westminster until recent weeks. In fact, I was talking to one activist who said, I've been a party activist for years, I've never heard of him until this contest started. Anyway, he's the Pontypridd MP, Owen Smith.
Hi, I'm Owen Smith. I'm standing to be the leader of the Labour Party.
He was never a household name. Even his biggest supporters would concede that.
Join us.
Owen Smith used to work at the BBC, then as an advisor to Labour ministers.
What do you think of our chances? I'm going to be wandering about and telling people. Not a lot. Not a lot, you think?
In 2006, he stood for election for the first time, losing to an independent rival.
Politics is about the people, but I think it's also about power.
By then, he was working for the American drugs company Pfizer and its government relations team. 4 years later, he stood for Parliament again, winning his hometown of Pontypridd.
Order! Order!
He was promoted quickly, first as Labour's shadow Welsh minister, and then a key role in charge of the party's policies on welfare and benefits.
It's the new IDS postcode lottery.
He was never an outspoken critic of Jeremy Corbyn, but after the EU vote, he was one of the 52 MPs who walked out of Labour's senior team.
I cannot see how he can continue, and we desperately need to move forward.
It was one of his colleagues, Angela Eagle, who made the first move, challenging for the leadership. Soon, though, it was clear Owen Smith had more support. Angela Eagle, gay with no children, stepped aside, but only after Smith had stressed his normal family background.
I was in no way implying that anybody who's got a different sexuality or a different lifestyle to me is anything other than normal themselves.
He launched his campaign with a raft of policies, ending university tuition fees, building more council houses, a second EU referendum.
That's what we need.
But his rallies were more low-key at a time when Corbyn and his team were packing out town halls with their supporters. He was forced to defend his past and his background working for a multinational drugs firm.
Did you ever try Viagra? No, I haven't actually.
And that was the answer we were after.
I haven't needed it.
There were a series of debates in Newcastle, Glasgow, Nottingham. He was criticised for suggesting we should negotiate with so-called Islamic State.
All solutions to these sorts of international crises do come about through dialogue.
And he warned of splits in the Labour Party if Jeremy Corbyn remained leader.
I think the Labour Party is standing on the edge of the precipice right now.
Some high-profile figures, from J.K. Rowling to the Mayor of London, have backed his cause.
People in the undecided section have moved and swelled the ranks of the Jeremy Corbyn supporters.
But it's grassroots Labour supporters who will decide this election, and they may prove far more difficult to win over.
Still with us, Anushka Astana, who is joint political editor of The Guardian, and Jim Waterston, who is political editor of BuzzFeed News. Owen Smith said during this contest, if Jeremy Corbyn wins, the Labour Party will split. Is that likely to happen?
I don't think so. Most of the people you talk to actually don't think that a split could be successful because they wouldn't have Labour, which is a very big brand in this country, whether they like it or not. So there's been some suggestions over the past week of those on the right of the party staying and fighting for the brand. Owen Smith himself says he'll go to the back benches if, as is expected, he loses. He has got one thing out of this. Someone sent me an Owen Smith emoji yesterday.
Oh, really? What does it look like?
Black glasses and a yellow face. But, you know, you could take that away.
Yeah, fair
enough. Take that away.
Jim Waterston, if Jeremy Corbyn does win and critical Labour MPs cannot get behind him, is there hope of getting rid of him in an early general election?
I can't imagine that. I mean, the main thing, the only way you're going to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn now, as far as I can see, is if he quits or if there's a mass disillusionment among Labour members. There's a big piece I've written for BuzzFeed.com, the website today, in which read it. It's fantastic. But it looks at just how there just isn't the support infrastructure around Owen Smith. There just isn't the moderate centrist Labour organisation. Jeremy Corbyn might not be untested in a general election, might struggle in a general election, but in terms of winning an internal Labour election, he's a cut above. And the old sort of campaign teams who won elections internally for Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and people like that, their sort of skills just don't quite work in the same way anymore. And I think they need to sort of go away, think about how to run a campaign, think about how you enthuse the Labour voters.
I mean, Theresa May promised there wouldn't be an early general election, or either. Well, you're raising your eyebrows, Anushka. Why?
Well, a lot in the Labour Party think that she would go for an early general election, although perhaps if she thinks that would get rid of Jeremy Corbyn and she thinks he's a weak leader, then there would actually be an argument for her to stay put and wait longer to actually have a general election. It is interesting what Jim's saying about this idea. They've got this huge number of members now, the Labour Party. Can they mobilise that in a way that could help them? A lot of it is kind of starry-eyed about Jeremy Corbyn. People talk about the cult of Corbyn. Just outside here, I had a bloke tell me he loved Corbyn, partly because of his initials, JC. He said he was a Christian, which was a bit weird. But the question now is not just, is it all about one man? It is, can they do something with what they have built within the party?
OK. Sources at The Guardian are saying Jeremy Corbyn has won. I'm not quite sure about the margin. I'm not quite sure about the margin,
but calling this election for Jeremy Corbyn is something you could have done at various points in the last few weeks.
But good on The Guardian. Was it me? No, well, I don't know.
I'm doing it under here.
OK, but they've obviously been speaking to someone. Let's talk to Norman, who I think is in the conference hall. Hello, Norman. What are you hearing?
Yep. Hey, Vic. Well, I think that's a fairly safe bet. Jeremy Corbyn has won. I'm not entirely sure that's breaking news. I think everyone expects him to win. The question is, by how much, and whether he increases his mandate from the 59% he got last time. A lot of loose chatter around about whether he can push it up into maybe 65%. We will soon find out. I'm joined by Louise Ellman, Liverpool MP, chair of the Transport Select Committee. I mean, if Mr Corbyn does win, doesn't it open up not just a rift between him and Labour MPs, but also an emerging rift, it seems, between the parliamentary party and ordinary party members who appear to back Mr Corbyn?
Well, if Jeremy wins, and it's expected that he will, I think that's a great challenge for Jeremy. And he has to understand that while it's great to have adoration from your own supporters within the party, that's terrific, and it enthuses you, it is nowhere near enough, and he has to understand he has to get the support of the electorate, the people who actually vote in the general election, and that's a very different proposition.
Some people say he's almost become intoxicated by the sort of selfie culture, the fan club culture, the personality cult. Do you think there is a danger of that?
Well, he's clearly enjoying going from meeting to meeting of people already committed to him and cheering him. It's a wonderful feeling when you're surrounded by your fans. But he's the leader of the opposition, and we want to be the party of government. And the people who can make that happen aren't just the cheering fans, the people who already agree with him. It's the general public out there, and up to now, they're not impressed, so things do have to change.
Key to the pleas for unity seems to be this issue of elections to the shadow cabinet, allowing Labour MPs to choose who serves in the shadow cabinet. If Mr Corbyn does not bite on that, is there any prospect of unity with the PLP?
I think the key thing is for Jeremy Corbyn, if he's re-elected leader, to reach out to the electorate and have a shadow cabinet that is looking outwards, not inwards, developing policies and arguing them effectively, challenging the government in Parliament itself, but reaching outwards to the community outside, not just to the membership. And how he does it is really a separate issue, but that's the task and that's the challenge, and I do hope he grasps it.
But talking to one of Mr Corbyn's key allies this morning, he was saying elections to the shadow cabinet are a distraction. It's come out of the blue. It's a major rule change, i.e. it's not happening. If it doesn't happen, what would your advice be to Labour MPs? Just stay on the back benches, or come on, get on board?
Well, individuals will really have to make their own decisions, but I would say we do need to work together, we do need to be unified, but that's about working, yes, with the membership, but above all with the general public, so that we can win a general election and put right some of the dreadful wrongs that are being carried out day by day. It's no good just being surrounded by people who already agree with you. That simply isn't enough.
And let's talk the stakes here. What is at issue here? Andy Burnham this morning warning that if the party did not unite, it could face terminal decline.
Well, Andy's warning is very timely. We have to unite, but it has to be uniting on the basis of reaching out to the electorate, to the general population, to argue Labour's case for our credibility to be the next government. That's what the Parliamentary Labour Party is all about, and Labour is a parliamentary party.
Louise, I know you live locally, but you risk missing the big announcement, so I'm going to let you go so you don't miss it. Here's the ticket you need, Vic, to get in. So we are getting pretty close to blast off for that announcement as to who has won this leadership contest, which will be put up on a big screen, and I think it'll show us how each of the different sections have voted too, how much support Mr Corbyn got from party members, how much from registered supporters, and how much from affiliated supporters, the trade union. So we'll see in each area how much support the two candidates have got.
Yes. Guardian reporter Heather Stewart says this on Twitter. I'm hearing Jeremy Corbyn has won the leadership with 62% of the vote, which is obviously up on last year. He got just under 60% last year. That's what the Guardian is saying in the last few minutes, Norman.
Yeah, if that's right, Team Corbyn will present that as further consolidation of their mandate. OK, it hasn't gone up to 65%, as there have been some suggestions, but let's be honest, he has boosted his mandate in the party. More than that, he's built up the party. There's what is now 551,000 members. Around 500,000 people took part in this contest. He's brought on board 40,000 volunteers. You know, for someone who's been in post for a year and taken all the hits he's had, all the attacks he's had, the divisions, to still be building support, his team will present that as a big win and a further consolidation of his mandate. And I think it does raise a serious question for his critics about what they do now and whether they can credibly keep digging away, trying to undermine him, because, you know, they've tried to take him on in a leadership contest and they have lost. Not only have they lost, but they appear to have lost big time. In fact, you know, this contest has achieved exactly what they didn't want to achieve. Far from being weakened, which was their hope that his mandate would go down, actually, it appears his mandate has been strengthened. Now, I would reckon Mr Corbyn is almost bomb-proof now until the next election. I cannot see who on earth would challenge him. I mean, Angela Eagle originally sort of triggered this contest and then pulled out. Owen Smith went for it, saying, I'm the better candidate, I can do it, I can build more people behind me. Doesn't really seem to happen. So you have to ask yourself, okay, well, who then? Who is this mysterious challenger who could credibly take on Jeremy Corbyn? And you're left scratching your head thinking, I don't see this person, which translated into English means there probably is not going to be another leadership contest. Added to which, Mr Corbyn has built this huge tier of support with Momentum. You know, they've got their sort of conference within a conference going on at the same time. He's built outside Parliament this massive body of support, which really no other Labour leader have done. And the other striking thing about it, it is personal support. They're not just signed up to the Labour Party and Labour Party values. They're signed up to Jeremy Corbyn. They are, you know, without being trite about it, his fan club. There is almost a personality cult around Jeremy Corbyn, because he's a very different sort of political leader. He doesn't do things the same way as everyone else. He doesn't play by the normal rules, and people like that because they think it's, you know, not business as usual, that he is an alternative leader with a different vision. The difficulty is many of his MPs simply do not believe that is going to translate into electoral victory. So for all the, you know, the selfies and the adulation and the big rallies, it simply won't translate into votes at the ballot box, and that's what they believe matters. So let's cross into the hall where I think things are beginning to warm up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chair of the National Executive Committee, Paddy Lillis.
Thank you, Conference. I will now be announcing the votes cast for each candidate
We will also show the number of votes cast for each candidate by each category of electorate. The full details of the results will be available on the Labour Party website following this event. The result of the election of the leader of the Labour Party is as follows. The number of eligible voters is 654,006. The number of eligible voters casting the vote in this contest is 506,438. The number of spoiled votes was 1,042. The votes cast for each candidate are as follows. Jeremy Coburn, 313,209. Owen Smith, 193,229. Conference, this represents a percentage of votes cast as follows. Jeremy Coburn, 61.8%. Owen Smith, 38.2%. Conference, on the screens is also shown the breakdown of votes cast for each candidate by members, affiliate supporters and registered supporters. I am therefore, Conference, delighted to declare Jeremy Coburn elected as Leader of the Labour Party. Please, Jeremy, welcome on this stage.
Delighted Jeremy Corbyn, having increased his mandate on the contest last year, shaking the hand of Paddy Lillis, who is the head of Labour's governing body, the National Executive Committee. And we're expecting Mr Corbyn to say a few words.
Paddy, thank you very much for the announcement you've just made, and thank you all for being here today. I want to thank the more than 300,000 supporters who have given me their support and trust in this Labour leadership election. I'm honoured to have won the votes of a majority of members, affiliated supporters and registered supporters who have given me the second mandate in a year to lead our party. I want to thank all the volunteers in our amazing campaign, the tens of thousands who've helped all over the country in my campaign. I also want to thank all those volunteers that worked so hard and helped in Owen Smith's campaign as well. Volunteers and the work they put in are the very lifeblood of democracy, and we both had amazing sets of volunteers, so I say thank you to all of them for all they did over the summer. And I want to say thank you to Owen Smith as well. Owen, we've had an interesting summer of debates all over the country. Thank you very much for all of that, for the good discussions and good-humoured debates that we've had, which no doubt we will continue, because we're part of the same Labour family, and that's how it's always going to be. And that's how it's always going to be. Thank you. And it has been an amazing summer. We've had good weather, of course, and we've had events and rallies and hustings and debates all over the place. But it's been about our Labour family facing the future of how we do things together in the future. I will do everything I can to repay the trust and the support, to bring our party together, to make it an engine of progress for our country and the people that depend on the Labour Party to protect their interests and win power to deliver real change in this country. Elections are passionate and often partisan affairs, and things are sometimes said in the heat of the debate on all sides, which we sometimes later come to regret. But always remember, in our party, we have much more in common than that which divides us. As far as I'm concerned, let's wipe that slate clean from today and get on with the work we've got to do as a party together. We are proud as a party that we're not afraid to discuss openly, to debate and disagree. That is essential for a party that wants to change the people's lives for the better, that isn't prepared to accept things as they are. It's also an essential part of what has drawn over 500,000 people into membership of what is now the largest political party anywhere in Western Europe. We have almost tripled our membership since last spring. Those new members are part of a nationwide movement who can now take our message into every community in the country to win support for the election of a Labour government. Our party has a duty of care to our members. That means intervening to stop personal abuse and also abiding by the principles of natural justice in the way that we handle it. Politics is demeaned and corroded by intimidation and abuse. It's not my way, and it's not the Labour way, and never will be. Now, friends, is the time for all of us to focus every ounce of our energy on exposing and defeating the Tories and the damage they're doing to our country. Theresa May's government isn't a new government. It's David Cameron's government with a new hard right edge repackaged with progressive slogans, but threatening to take the country backwards and dithering as we face the historic challenges of Brexit. So, if you believe that education is better than segregation, that we need an NHS that isn't threatened with breakdown and loaded with debt, that older people deserve dignity and the care they need in their own home, that we have a duty as a country to refugees and promote peace rather than conflict, if, like me, you believe that it's a scandal that here in Britain, the 6th largest economy in the world, 4 million children are in poverty, 6 million workers are paid less than the living wage, and if, like me, you believe we can do things far better, then help us build support for a genuine alternative that will invest in our future, a more prosperous future in which the wealth we all create is shared more equally. Together, arguing for the real change this country needs, I've no doubt that this party can win the next election, whenever the Prime Minister decides to call it, and form the next government. To do that, we need to work together. This time, next week, we're all going to hit the streets, united as a party. I'm calling on Labour Party members all over the country to join us in a national campaign for inclusive education for all next Saturday. The Tories' plans for grammar school segregation of our children expose their divisive and damaging agenda for our country. My responsibility as Labour leader is to unite this party At conference this week here in the wonderful city of Liverpool, in Parliament and in every community around the country. But it's also the responsibility of the whole party, members of Parliament, councillors, party members and our wonderful supporters across the country, to work together and respect the democratic choice that's been made. Labour is a party brimming full of ideas, of talent, of creativity, and so is this country. Unleashing that potential is the job of all of us. Let us work together for real change in Britain. Thank you very much.
Jeremy Corbyn applauding those who applaud him. There's Dame Margaret Beckett, former acting leader. Thumbs up to the crowd. He's getting a standing ovation. Jeremy Corbyn re-elected as Labour leader. Second time he's won this contest in just over 12 months. This time he increased his mandate. He received 61.8% of the vote. Last year he received just under 60% of the vote. Talked about the Labour family, made a real point of saying that he and Owen Smith, his challenger, were members of the Labour family. He said Labour was an engine of progress and that they're going to win power to deliver real change in this country. He made a point that he said during contests, heated things are said on both sides, which we might regret, but we have much more in common than that divides us. Norman, where are you and who are you with?
These people. Yeah, I'm just outside the conference hall where people are streaming out. Let me just see if I can get some immediate reaction. Reaction to that, what do you think of Mr Corbyn's victory? What do you think of Mr Corbyn's victory? You pleased he won? Wow, all very silent. What do you make of Mr Corbyn's victory?
Very disappointed.
Why? Very disappointed. What do you make of Jeremy Corbyn's victory? Well, some... OK, what did you make of Mr Corbyn's victory?
Oh, hi, my name's Louise Haig, I'm the MP for Sheffield Heeley, so I was backing Owen. Obviously disappointed that Owen didn't win, but congratulations to Jeremy. It's an incredible victory, but it does, from our polling, reveal that the movement is still divided. Jeremy failed to win over the long-standing members, but obviously Owen failed to win over the newer members.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. Mr Corbyn did best amongst so-called registered supporters. These are the people who paid £25. I mean, there's been huge controversy about that. I mean, how far do you think that has influenced the result? People simply being energised by Mr Corbyn, paying the 25 quid and signing up?
I think that obviously has had a major impact. He had an overwhelming majority there, just as he did last year. I didn't support registered supporters when they were brought in under Ed Miliband's leadership. I don't support them now. I don't think they should have a role in future leadership elections, but he did also have a majority amongst the newer members, those that joined prior to January, so I don't think we can demean his victory in that sense.
Jeremy Corbyn in his victory speech again and again saying we have all got a responsibility to unite. The question is, will people like you and the PLP unite behind Mr Corbyn and willingly and constructively serve?
Well, I remain on the front bench. I'm still a shadow minister, so I will continue to do so if Jeremy wants me to stay there. I've said from the beginning that I will get behind whoever was elected, and I will absolutely do that now. But the time for talking is over. Jeremy's right. We all have a responsibility to unite the party, and Jeremy has that responsibility as well. We need to see actions from him. I want to see him back elected shadow cabinet. We need to talk. We need to absolutely stop any talk about revenge or vindictiveness against those who didn't support him this time. It's actions that will speak louder than words, and we've heard a lot of that from across the movement over the summer, but the time for talking is over and we need to see compromise from both sides.
Lovely, thank you very much for your time. Well, as you can see, people are piling out now. Vic, I'll hand back to you.
OK, thank you. Let's talk to Streatham MP, Labour MP Chuka Umunnick, who left Jeremy Corbyn's top team, his shadow cabinet, and supported that no confidence motion in Jeremy Corbyn. How do you react to Mr Corbyn's victory?
Well, look, the result was decisive and the leadership issue is settled now and we've got to move forward. I absolutely agree with Jeremy Corbyn that we need to be looking outward, facing forward to the public with a view to winning a general election, and we've got to unify. But unity will not come about through demand, through threat. through online thuggery that we've seen, which is why I'm very pleased to hear the comments he's made about the need for an end to the online abuse that we've seen. In the end, unity comes about through talking, understanding, through dialogue, through solidarity. And so when you hear all this talk, for example, of deselection of Labour MPs, good, hard-working, popular local MPs, I think that's completely counterproductive. Jeremy's been very clear that he doesn't see a need to change any of the rules around the way parliamentary candidates are selected. And so he should be very clear that is the end of the matter. And the only talk of deselection that there should be is of Conservative MPs at the next general election. The immediate task, I suppose, we have in uniting the party is to reconcile the mandate that has been repeated today, similar to the last one that Jeremy got from the membership, reconciling that with the mandate that Labour MPs who were elected under a different leader have from 9.3 million Labour voters. And I think the reintroduction of shadow cabinet elections, as Louise Haigh has just said, certainly would be a vehicle through which that can be achieved. And of course, Jeremy himself opposed the abolition of shadow cabinet elections in the first instance when it happened under Ed Miliband. So I think it would be a good thing to bring that back. But beyond that, we've got to now really deal with some of our weaknesses, deal with some of those issues on which we know we are struggling to get the trust of the people, in particular immigration. I was flabbergasted that, frankly, immigration wasn't more of the debate in this leadership contest, given that over a third of Labour voters took a different view to our official position on staying in the European Union, principally on that issue of immigration. So we've got to find a resolution to that that's consistent with our values but resonates with a lot of our people. And secondly, of course, we know from the psephologist John Curtis, who came closest to predicting the general election result last year, that our economic competence as well was one of those issues. So those are the two big issues with the general election in mind. But the most immediate task, of course, Victoria, is making sure that we secure the most progressive Brexit deal possible, and that's a really massive task for every Labour MP, whether you're on the front bench or the back bench.
So you didn't have confidence in your leader earlier this year. Do you have confidence in him now?
Well, I think we all have to come together. I mean, I'm not going to resile from the vote, and obviously you have around 40% of the electorate in this contest who've also said that they've had concerns about the leadership. But we've had the result now. This is, if you like, drawn a line, and we've got to move forward. And, you know, different people say, well, you know, I'm a Momentum supporter, I'm this or that. I'm a Labour person, and I want the Labour Party, whoever the leader is, to do well, and most importantly, for us to get into government.
How do you say?
That's the only way that you make your values real.
Sure, but how do you say with a straight face to the wider electorate, vote for this man, he's going to be your next Prime Minister and he'll be good at it?
We as a collective Labour Party have elected our leader, and the leader is our candidate to be Prime Minister. And that's what we have said through this result. And, you know, you can't complain about the rules after they've been run on the rules and you get a result. We've got a result now, so we've got to move forward. And if we continue having this debate every week, then how are we going to move forward? And I want to see our values implemented in office. I want to see us get into government. That's the test here, the challenge to the leadership, but to all of us, we've got to get Labour into government. And it's nonsense to suggest, by the way, Victoria, that somehow we were doing well in the polls before the Brexit vote and then the vote of no confidence. There have been over 80 different polls since we had the change in leadership last year, and we've been trailing in every single one of them. In almost every single one of them. And we may well be the biggest party in Europe right now, numerically in terms of supporters and members, but we're trailing in the polls, and we have been for a long time. We've got to turn that around so that we can get into government, sort the NHS out, have that education campaign implemented that Jeremy was talking about. We can't do any of these things unless we actually get into government.
All right, quick final thought, an appeal from you to call off the dogs when it comes to threatening deselection of moderate MPs, a call for shadow cabinet elections. You would serve in Jeremy Corbyn's top team then, would you?
Well, I actually left by mutual agreement this time last year. Jeremy didn't want me to serve in his shadow cabinet, and I'm currently standing to be the chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee, of which I'm a member. And I think, you know, if people want to go back in and serve, I think that's a good thing. I'll support them, of course, but being on the front bench is not the only way of serving. And, you know, you just look at the work of Margaret Hodge on the Public Accounts Committee, holding to account those big multinational companies on their failure to pay tax, or the work that Tom Watson did, which actually I think was one of the big boosts to his deputy leadership campaign when he became deputy leader last year, in calling for more regulation of our newspapers and the way they operated. He did that on the Select Committee too. So I think you can advance the Labour cause in Parliament in different ways, and all of those parts of the jigsaw, the shadow cabinet, the rest of the front bench, select committees, backbench MPs, running campaigns, all of those are vital to advancing our cause to promote social justice.
OK, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Chuka Umunna, who is the Streatham Labour MP, and sounds like he'd rather become chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee than return to the top team of Jeremy Corbyn. Just behind us, delegates, members, Labour supporters streaming out of the conference hall, as you can see. Some looking absolutely delighted, some looking less so. We will talk to some of them in just a moment, but first let's hear from Vicky Young, who is at the grassroots rally / festival of Momentum, the organisation set up to support Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, there really is a carnival atmosphere here, as you can imagine. Utter delight when that result came through. Huge cheers from the people here. This is a 4-day event, which they say is running alongside the Labour Party conference. Of course, everyone here really expected that result. Many feel that this leadership contest was a complete waste of time, a complete waste of resources, and what they want to see now is the party coming together and supporting and backing Jeremy Corbyn, because many feel that he really wasn't given a fair hearing or a real chance when he was elected for the first time. Let's speak to some of the people here who are welcoming this. What's your reaction to what's happened today?
I'm thrilled that Jeremy's won, and I'm beyond excited to just go back to my community. I'm from Leeds, and start organising for real social change with other members of the Labour Party.
And what's your message to MPs?
I think that we have more in common than we have that divides us, and I think that Jeremy is a strong leader that can win in 2020, and I think that MPs should get behind Jeremy Corbyn, get behind the membership.
And tell me a bit about what this Momentum grouping, the excitement there's been really from the grassroots.
It's just been amazing with Momentum to get involved with people from all walks of life in Leeds, you know, old people, young people, people who are new to politics, people who have been in politics for decades, come together, share ideas, not just the same old, you know, people, the same old catchphrases, but new, exciting ideas. It's been really fun.
Indeed. What's the appeal of Jeremy Corbyn for you?
I think he talks the sort of politics that I've always felt my whole life, but it's never ever been on television, it's never been on the radio, it's never been in the media, and at last there's somebody who's actually saying the things that I've felt for a long, long time around war, around refugees, around education, around health. And I just think it's fantastic to have this opportunity that we can actually change things, and we can get elected at the next election if we can get the membership united and the MPs elected. I think it's the most exciting time in politics.
That's the big if, isn't it? It's about whether the party can come together and really be on the same side. Do you think after the year we've had that that's possible?
I think it is. I think with 500,000 members, over 500,000, then I think anything's possible, really. And I think the MPs just need to listen to the membership and take note and fight against the Tories instead of within the party, and I'm sure they can do that.
And what do you say to those who say that Jeremy Corbyn's appeal doesn't go beyond a few 100,000 grassroots members, that if you've got to win a general election, you are going to have to appeal to people who might have voted Tory last time round?
I think the people I speak to at work, from admin staff through to senior managers, are all aware that actually things are changing and that we want something different. We don't want people in suits telling us lies anymore. We don't want people in suits making decisions that are going to benefit them and their peers, the millionaires. The people in cabinet, I think, are all millionaires at the moment. We want people making decisions that really understand what it's like to be normal, to be an ordinary person. And I think Jeremy Corbyn can do that in a way that no other politician has been able to do for a long time. So I think that he will connect and does connect with an awful lot of people out there that are just ordinary, that aren't politically engaged, but are actually starting to say, oh, who is this Jeremy Corbyn? You know, he's talking sense. And that's what we're hearing anyway.
Thank you very much indeed. What about you? What's your reaction to today's re-election?
I'm obviously very pleased that Jeremy's won again with an even bigger mandate than last year, so the only way is forward.
And what about MPs? What's your message to Labour MPs who, let's face it, have not backed him up. They don't think that he is leading the party in the right direction.
Well, this is the time. The people, the membership have spoken. It's time to get behind and unite and make Labour a winning force in politics again.
And over here, your reaction the same? You're happy about today?
I'm absolutely delighted. I couldn't be more delighted. I'm very pleased that Jeremy's been re-elected. I think that he is a return to proper Labour Party values and principles. We were talking on the train on the way over from Bradford about what Labour Party values are, and one of them is decency, and I don't think you could find a more decent person anywhere. He's going to be a brilliant leader. The Parliamentary Labour Party must get behind him now.
Thank you very much indeed. So really the message there, loud and clear from the people here, that the MPs now need to get behind Jeremy Corbyn, and they feel that it's the divisions in the Labour Party that have been the problem. They don't think the problem, of course, is Jeremy Corbyn. The message is to MPs, you now need to get behind him and campaign.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Let's just try and grab some of the delegates here who have just left the conference hall. Hello, hello. Hi, hello.
Hello.
So what did you think when you heard that Jeremy Corbyn had been re-elected?
Extremely pleased, and I hope that with the second mandate as a party we will unite behind Jeremy as our leader and become the official opposition, doing what we expect the opposition to do. Hold the government to account and prepare ourselves for the forthcoming general election and hopefully form a Labour government.
All right, and what do you say to those MPs who have been very critical of Mr Corbyn and, you know, both openly and when it comes to briefing various members of the media?
Please listen to the members. The members have voted Jeremy again with a resounding majority for the second time round. Please listen to your members and please support Jeremy. We need to unite as a party if we are going to be effective.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk to more as they exit the conference hall. We're going to talk now to a woman who resigned from Jeremy Corbyn's top team back in the summer. Her name is Seema Malhotra. She was Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Hello to you.
Hi.
What do you think of the result?
Well, I think it's a time for us to now come together. It's not an unexpected result, and it's been a really bruising summer, I think, for all sides as we've had the conversation, and a tough conversation about what it's going to take for us to win in the Labour Party. I think now people will say that we want a time to be able to come together. I think it's absolutely vital that whichever way people campaigned or voted, that we stay in the Labour Party and that we focus on what we need to do to provide the opposition to Theresa May and focus on how we win the next election. I think at this time we can say, with so many challenges coming upstream, whether that's with the welfare benefit cuts again or with the challenges after Brexit, that we say we've got the answers much more in the Labour Party. We've got to be voicing those, and we've got to do that as a strong opposition.
What adjective would you use to describe how you felt when you heard Jeremy Corbyn's name read out?
I think it was probably expected at the end.
So your emotion was that was expected.
No, my emotion was we've got to come together. My emotion was there's so much division in the country. There's been a hugely divisive and bruising period in the Labour Party. It has been unpleasant for everybody, and I think people are now saying, when I've talked to members and I've talked to constituents, that we want Labour to be fighting as a strong opposition. That does mean we've got to find a way of addressing the issues that caused this to happen in the first place, and I think there's got to be some movement on both sides. I think that's a really important stage now that we're at, and we've got to see that partnership between those sides of the Labour Party.
For people like you who resigned from Mr Corbyn's top team, is there an irony in that this leadership contest has made Mr Corbyn stronger?
I think what this has shown is that there's a strong sense in which we do want to see the Labour Party go forward together. I think whichever side you're on, I've talked to members who are on both sides who say that there were different reasons why they chose either Jeremy or Owen in this election. But united on wanting to fight for the Labour Party to be in power is where I think we are.
Okay.
And where I believe we've got to play a part now is whichever way we can play that part, to be focused on making sure the Labour Party is in the strongest position as opposition and addressing the issues it needs to make sure that we can be in the strongest position to win government again.
Would you go back to Mr Corbyn's top team?
Look, I'm prepared to have an open conversation about what role I play, whether that's on the front bench or the back benches. I think what we have to say is, I'm not being presumptive about whether or not it's going back. I don't think you do go back, but you can go forward. And I think
John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor, has invited people like yourself for a cup of tea and a chat. Will you be taking him up on that?
Well, look, I think a cup of tea and a chat is going to be due across the Labour Party. And I think between the different sides that say we want to come together, it's about partnership, addressing the issues and making sure that we stay in the Labour Party and stay together.
Thank you very much. Right, let's go to Norman, who is outside the conference hall here in Liverpool.
Hey Vic, thanks very much. Well, I've got one man who should be pretty happy, James Schneider, the national organiser of Momentum, of course, key supporters of Jeremy Corbyn. Big win for Mr Corbyn, yes, but perhaps not as big as some people thought.
No, it's a fantastic win. It's an even larger mandate than last year, and that's after people were excluded from voting. New members who signed up after January weren't able to vote. There's no way you can spin it other than a fantastic result. He's won by big margins in all three categories. We're really, really pleased.
Doesn't it raise renewed controversy, though, over the idea of these registered supporters, people who pay up to vote in the contest? Because that is where Mr Corbyn has done best by quite a long way.
Well, no, he's got 58% of the vote in full party members, 60% of the vote in affiliated supporters through trade unions, and about 69% in the registered supporters. Now, 50,000 of the registered supporters were full party members who'd signed up and were denied a vote. So the idea that that Corbyn's only won because of kind of Johnny-come-latelys who aren't interested in the party is completely untrue.
Yeah, I think we're listening to a Momentum rally at the moment. I'll just keep talking to James Schneider. The appeals for unity, again and again, Mr Corbyn appealing for unity, but it's got to be more than words, hasn't it? So what does Mr Corbyn have to do to get his MPs on board?
He's got to make an offer exactly as he's doing, and we're going to bring the party together. But it also goes both ways. What we need, I think, is MPs to recognise the direction that the members want to take the party. And actually, across this summer, across this leadership debate, there's been a whole load of agreement on the big areas of policy where we can go, and that's a big base to unite around.
And what do you say to those Labour MPs who are scared witless by Momentum, who see it basically as a front for getting rid of mainstream centrist Labour MPs?
Come and talk to us. It isn't the case. We're not campaigning for deselections. We are campaigning to help change the Labour Party, to make it more democratic, more participatory, more activist, more campaigning. We do want change, but we're not a threat. We're part of the Labour movement, and we want to help Labour to win elections. So if you're worried, you've heard rumours about horrible things that we apparently do. They aren't the case. Come and talk to us.
Okay, James Schneider, thanks very much. Well, there's an invitation to those Labour MPs who have any doubts. Pick up the phone, maybe give Mr Schneider a call and see if your fears are allayed. Vic, back to you.
Thank you. Let's talk to various members who've just come out of the conference hall. Michelle Langham, you voted for Mr Corbyn. What are you thinking right now?
I am delighted. I think the right person won, and I think it's a great result today, and I think it's a great chance for the party to unite together and move forward.
James Aspinall, you were supporting Owen Smith. How are you feeling now?
Well, I'm just pleased that this nightmare is over. And as Michelle has just said, this is a great opportunity. This is the opportunity now for us to move forward and unite. Because there are things bigger in this world than Jeremy Corbyn or Owen Smith. And that's the electorate out there. And we have to unite now together, go and face the electorate and take on the Tories. That's our prime function in life.
Yeah. You were telling me when we spoke earlier, and you were a little emotional. You said when you're knocking on the door canvassing, people are saying, I can't vote for you with Jeremy Corbyn as leader.
Well, that's true. People do say that. There are people who say they will vote for him. But that's democracy. That's the way the British people are. And we have to respond to the way the British people are. And we have to come up with a set of policies that can appeal to everybody, just not certain sections.
Yeah. Joseph, hello. You dressed up for the occasion. You're looking magnificent, sir, if you don't mind me saying so. What do you think of this result?
It's fantastic. I'm very, very pleased. The most important thing is you have to come together and put a big fight towards the Tories. That's the most important thing. The infighting will never win election. Without unity, there will be no success. So I'm appealing to the PLP members to back Corbyn or come back and then you work together so that we can win the 2020 election.
Okay. Nick, what would you say as a member to Labour MPs, those who've been very critical of Mr Corbyn over the last few months, what do you say to them?
I'd say we've got 4 more years before we have to face an election.
I cannot not hear you.
Can you not hear me?
No, go on, speak up.
We've got 4 more years before we have to face an election, hopefully. And in that time, we can do a lot more. Basically, people haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
Over this last year, Corbyn has managed to enthuse so many people, including me. And I think that that's going to take this right through to the next election.
And what is it about Mr Corbyn that particularly appeals to you, Nick?
Sincerity, for one thing. No spin. He's not particularly media savvy, which is, you know, considering where we are at the moment, a bit of a problem. But he actually means what he says. He hasn't changed his views for the last 30 years, which is a good thing.
Okay.
And most of the policies that the recent contender were pushing forward were exactly the same policies that he has himself.
Andrew, you wanted Owen Smith to win. Yeah. How do you react now then? What do you say now?
Well, I think we've got to be hopeful. I mean, it's right to say that Owen Smith believes a lot of the things Jeremy believes in, but the reason a lot of people opposed him was because of the strategy, because of the way we reacted to the media and the way we pushed forward what we believed in, and a lot of people resigned on that because they didn't think we worked as an opposition. So I think we can be hopeful from this that maybe we'll look to start improving, we'll look to start being a bit more competent, we'll look to start cooperating more, and hopefully we can start building up and we can unite a bit more to be a bit more of an effective opposition.
Do you think that's realistic, Michelle? All those people within the Parliamentary Labour Party, all those Labour MPs, 172 of them, who voted in that no confidence motion against their leader, all that anxiety about Mr Corbyn's competency, as they put it, will suddenly disappear because he's been re-elected?
I think there needs to be a lot of conversations had. As Jeremy just said, he's prepared to wipe the slate clean. There've been a lot of bad things said which shouldn't have been said. I think if we're going to be credible in the next election, that we need to all come together, and I think there needs to be some serious conversations had about how people can work together, and that's what is the most important thing.
All right, well, let's hear a little bit more of what Jeremy Corbyn said in his acceptance speech, his thank you speech, if you like, after he was re-elected.
My responsibility as Labour leader is to unite this party. At conference this week, here in the wonderful city of Liverpool, in Parliament and in every community around the country. But it's also the responsibility of the whole party, members of Parliament, councillors, party members and our wonderful supporters across the country, to work together and respect the democratic choice that's been made. Labour is a party brimming full of ideas, of talent, of creativity, and so is this country. Unleashing that potential is the job of all of us. Let us work together for real change in Britain. Thank you very much.
Stand by. We'll clear as quickly as we can. Thank you.
OK, let's go back to Norman then, who is with Jeremy Corbyn ally, Diane Abbott.
Yes, thanks very much, Vic. A few stragglers still coming out, including the Shadow Health Secretary, Diane Abbott, key supporter of Mr Corbyn. Your take on the result?
It's a very good result, given this was in many ways a nasty and a bitter campaign, more so than last summer. They threw everything except the kitchen sink at Jeremy, and he still increased his share of the vote.
Why do you say that?
Because the allegations of, including with anti-Semitism, very hurtful and unpleasant allegations. You didn't get that last summer. It was a harder campaign. But in the end, I think the membership came out for Jeremy because they realised he hadn't been given a chance and he hadn't been treated fairly.
What do you say to those MPs who still refuse to get on board, refuse to join in the front bench?
First of all, they have to listen to their members. Many of Jeremy's most vociferous critics actually have local parties that nominated Jeremy. They have to listen to their members, and if they listen to their members, and if they listen to Labour supporters, they will know that what people want is for the party to unite and take the fight to the Tories.
And if they don't, then yes, they should face deselection.
No one is talking about, nobody close to Jeremy is talking about deselection or purges. We want to wipe the slate clean, start again. We're not going to hold what was said during the campaign against anybody. Campaigns are always difficult. We want the party to unite.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Why shouldn't local parties deselect Labour MPs if they continue to criticise and attack a Labour leader who has been overwhelmingly elected and has 2 mandates? Why on earth shouldn't they get rid of those MPs?
Deselections aren't the issue. Clearly, because of the boundary changes, there will have to be some selections, because you'll have MPs facing each other, because the boundaries have changed. But we don't want to purge, we don't want deselections. We want people to come together, and that is what the party wants.
What evidence is there, though, that Mr Corbyn, beyond the rhetoric, is willing to put in place concrete measures to reassure those Labour MPs who are doubtful about him? What's he actually going to do beyond the talk?
Look at what he's done. When he first put his shadow cabinet together, he had Charlie Faulkner, card-carrying Blairite, and he also had people from the left. Jeremy has already shown that he is willing to call on all the talents, and that's what he's going to do this time.
Diane Abbott, thanks very much for your time indeed. Vic, back to you.
Thank you very much, Norman. With us is Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell, right-hand man to Jeremy Corbyn. Congratulations to you and your team. Wipe the slate clean, does that mean calling off the dogs when it comes to those threats of deselecting MPs who may have criticised Mr Corbyn in recent months?
We've never called on the dogs. We've never done that. We've made it clear, and really repeatedly, we're not in favour of mandatory selection, first of all. We've got the Boundary Commission changes coming up. We're going to fight them in Parliament and in the courts to prevent them, because they're so grotesquely unfair. If they do go through, the rules that have always applied on the Boundary Commission changes will apply again, which is if there's a sitting MP, they will have the right to that seat, basically. So we're trying to reassure people all the time that all we want now is unity and stability, and I think...
So Labour MPs who've been critical, who've been opponents of Mr Corbyn, have nothing to worry about?
Not at all. We've said that time and time again, and I'll repeat it now. The most important thing now is not about issues around reselection or anything like that. It's about what role people want to play. Is it within shadow cabinet, on the front bench or on the back benches? What role, if they're on the back benches and they don't feel they want to take a formal role, maybe they can take a role on the back benches on a particular issue, like Yvette Cooper did on refugees, was brilliant. Caroline Flint did on tax evasion avoidance, brilliant again. So there's a way in which we can accommodate everybody.
OK, so shadow cabinet elections then? Yeah. Yes?
There'll be a wider discussion about that. The key thing around issues around democratic change within the party, we've got to make sure we do that by consensus. And if we have to take time to do that, let's do that properly. Last time there were sort of changes within the constitutional and the rules, if you like, of the Labour Party. There was a full consultation process and then a special rules conference. We might have to do that. But I think people want that done quickly rather than delaying it, so again it can be part of the discussions that we have now.
Right. But Mr Corbyn could have offered that in his acceptance speech
he didn't want any accusations that he's bouncing anyone into any decisions at the moment, because if he offered that, there might be some people who oppose that and they would think that their views are being not listened to or their views preempted.
But he doesn't, just clear this up for us, does he see the idea of shadow cabinet elections, whether it's across the board or a third of elected by backbench MPs, as a way of clipping his wings or not?
I don't think so. I think the issue there is what's the most appropriate way of getting the right representation. Is it by appointment? Is it by elections? Who should participate in those elections? What sort of mandate there should be? But that's at every level of the party now, both in terms of shadow cabinet, the NEC, all those other discussions that need to take place.
Now you've had this second contest within just over 12 months it is, actually. Are you pleased, actually, because it's strengthened Mr Corbyn's power?
I didn't want it. I thought it was a
But now you know that the mandate is bigger than a year ago.
I know, but I'd rather we hadn't done, because what's happened is it's distracted us for about 3 months, and when we should have been really in the face of the Tories as a strong opposition. So it's been a distraction, but we are, well, you know, we are where we are. Jeremy's got a renewed mandate, an increased mandate, if anything. This appeal to unity, well, I think will work. Some of the issues that came out of the debate, really on policy, virtually no difference whatsoever. The only major difference was around Trident. On every other policy area, the most common expression used by Owen was "I agree with Jeremy," which was really good. In terms of some of the criticisms of how we've operated, well, let's learn from those. And we're saying to people, come in and talk to us about that.
Has anyone Has anyone said, yeah, we'll come and have any Labour MP said, yeah, I want to come and have a chat with you, Mr McDonnell?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, well, I don't want to go into that because I don't want to put people on the spot. Okay. And what I don't want is any sort of division now. We've got to just come together.
But you're saying, clearly, MPs are coming to you privately and saying, we want to come back into the fold. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. We've had a number of people who are saying, this is I want to play my role. I want to do my best by the party in the country. Here's the issues of policy that I'm interested in. Can I perform a role with those?
Okay, and somebody like Hilary Benn, for example, he would be welcomed back?
Yeah. Hillary's incredibly talented. We've worked together over the years. We've both, he was a local councillor just outside of my constituency for a long period of time. We've always gone well.
Right. Ed Miliband, I'm just reading this, Mr McDonnell, on Twitter. Congratulations to Jeremy on his victory and commiserations to Owen. Now is the time for the party to unite and to focus on the country. Labour MP Stephen Kinnock, congratulations to Jeremy Corbyn. Time now to unite our party and set out a vision and agenda that can earn the trust and support of the British people. How are you going to attract Conservative voters, UKIP voters, if you want to win a general election, which you'll have to do?
That's a good point. If you look at the issues that we've been campaigning on during the leadership election, take the grammar schools issue. What Jeremy did today is he said our first campaign next Saturday, when we'll be getting hundreds of thousands of our members out on the streets, leafleting, street stores, canvassing, that sort of thing, will be around the issues of, education segregation. That's what grammar schools are.
Okay.
That's uniting our party.
Yeah, so that's one area.
Yeah. If you look at everything else, housing, the issue that we've been raising, the one thing that's facing people right the way across the country now is being able to afford a roof over their heads, but also having their children be able to have access to the housing market. Those sorts of issues we'll be campaigning on. All of those issues that came up in the leadership campaign are election winners for us. So therefore, if we unite, because people won't vote for a divided party, it's a truism, if we unite, we get out there with the best election vehicle we've ever had, the largest political party in Europe. We'll have members on virtually every street aiming to argue our case and act as ambassadors for us. I think there's a real chance of winning the next election whenever it comes.
And what do you... Are you expecting an earlier than 2020, even though Theresa May said she would not call it?
I think she'll go sooner rather than later. I've never trusted Tories anyway when they say something, but on this one I don't trust her even more. I think she'll go early. And the reason I think she'll go early is because if she stays in power over the next 18 months to 2 years, the Tories will rip themselves apart on Brexit yet again. And we're seeing it already.
What do you say to those Labour voters in Labour heartlands, the northeast of England in particular, who voted to leave the European Union because they're really anxious about freedom of movement of people?
Yeah, okay, we'll address it.
You will address it?
Yeah,
in what way?
Well, it's part of the debate that we'll have. The Brexit vote has taken place. We have to respect that. We have to respect it. It was a referendum. We voted for a referendum. We have to respect the result. So what we'll do now is we'll look at how we create a new Europe. And we'll work with our European partners to do that as well. And where there's issues around...
But they want an end to freedom of movement.
Yeah, well, let's look at that issue of freedom of movement, see what the real problems were. Was it about people coming here undercutting wages? Was it pressure on public services? And see how we can overcome that. We want to try and get the benefits of the old EU and tackle some of the perceived disbenefits. I think we can do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. John McDonnell, who is the Shadow Chancellor. And the message from everybody that we've spoken to, really, since the result, is the Labour Party must unite. I think we're going to talk to Norman now. Sorry, I beg your pardon, we're going to talk to the Conservative Party Chairman, Patrick McLaughlin, actually. Thank you for your patience, Mr McLaughlin. How do you react to the re-election of Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader?
Well, the simple fact is that what will hang around the Labour Party as long as Jeremy Corbyn is its leader is that 172 of his members of Parliament don't think he is competent enough to run his party, let alone run the government. So that is our message. It's my message. We've got a Labour Party that's split, a Labour Party that itself says that Jeremy Corbyn is not a fit person to lead it, and also all the former leaders of the Labour Party have all said that Jeremy Corbyn is not the right person to lead the party and cannot be a good Prime Minister of this country.
Not all of Mr Corbyn's policies are unpalatable to the wider electorate. You probably noticed a majority support taking railways back into public ownership, for example.
Well, we will have those debates over coming months and years. The simple fact about the railways is we've got more people using the railways now than we've ever had, and that is because of the competition which has been brought about by franchising the railway system. So if you go to places...
True, but a majority now support nationalisation, don't they?
Well,
that's something that Mr Corbyn is championing.
Well, it isn't just about the railways. We're going to take Jeremy Corbyn on and the points he's making if he manages to form a shadow cabinet. This is a man who in this last leadership election said the last Labour government didn't spend enough money. He says that he wants to stop the freedoms that we've given to schools, getting more of those freedoms. So we'll be making those points and we'll be getting on governing the country.
And Mr Corbyn, you will have heard in his speech earlier, he's launching a campaign next week about education segregation against your policy, Theresa May's policy, of reintroducing selection for some grammar schools.
Well, look, what we've got in our schools, we've got a diverse system of schools. We've got academies which concentrate on sport. We've got them that concentrate on music. I think it's right that we have them that concentrate on academic ability too. So I welcome having that debate. You know, when the Labour Party were in government for 13 years, they allowed grammar schools to continue in certain parts of the country. We saw expansions of grammar schools given the go-ahead by the government, and I want to see more people getting the opportunity of a diverse education system so they get what best suits that child. That's the most important thing when we're discussing our education system. What is best for the pupils? What is best that they can be able to compete in a very competitive world and the environment?
When will you have a Brexit plan?
Well, the Prime Minister and her senior colleagues are working on the Brexit plan, and we'll have more to say on that in due course. Well, that will come in due course. There's a lot of work to be done as a result.
Next year?
Well, the Prime Minister said that Article 50 will not be triggered before the end of the year, and when she's got more to say on that, she'll let you know.
Theresa May's also said she won't call an early general election. Is she going to stick with that?
Yes, there is no plans at all for any early general election. We've got a fixed term parliament. This parliament sits till 2020. That's when the general election will be.
Thank you very much. Patrick McLaughlin, who is the chairman of the Conservative Party. Let's talk to two MPs now. Kate Green, chair of the Owen Smith campaign. Hello. And you still have a smile on your face. And Chris Matheson, who voted for Owen Smith. Hello to you. Why did you vote for him?
I think there was a feeling within the party that Jeremy's abilities hadn't shone through. They were rather limited, and that if we were going to take on the Tories, that we wanted to take the fight to a different level. Owen offered that certainly to when we saw his performances within Parliament.
And what do you think now that you've ended up making Jeremy Corbyn even stronger?
Well, maybe, but Jeremy has also helped himself. For example, in the last Prime Minister's questions, he had Theresa May on toast over her plans for bringing back grammar schools and secondary moderns. So Jeremy himself is improving his performance.
How are you feeling about the result?
Well, it's obviously a good victory for Jeremy Corbyn, and we congratulate him on that. We're very pleased that, you know, nearly 200,000 people have voted for Owen. That's a big vote that Owen's achieved, bigger than the three candidates who stood against Jeremy in last year's leadership election had secured with their votes put together. And obviously we're very anxious now that Jeremy should carry forward on the speech that he gave just after the result was announced to unite the whole of the party and to start to take the fight to the Tories, and that's really what we're prioritising now.
And do you think the onus is on those Labour MPs who are critical of Mr Corbyn to rally round now, or on Mr Corbyn to offer olive branches, potentially shadow cabinet elections or whatever it may be?
I think there's a desire on both sides to move forward. There's a genuine desire for unity. We've been scoring some really good hits in Parliament on the Tories' immigration policy, on their plans for education in the last couple of weeks. And people want to build on that on all sides. So I'll be hoping that both sides come together and that we find a way forward. I think it's absolutely possible.
And are you going to look me in the eye and tell me that, having been critical of Mr Corbyn and voted for Owen Smith, you now think, because he's been re-elected a second time, that he can win a general election?
I am looking at you in the eye, and I certainly think he's improved his performances, yes.
What, since when?
Well, in the last couple of weeks. As I said, he creamed Theresa May in Prime Minister's questions last week. She had no responses to any of his questions, and it gave all of us a bounce. So, yeah, I think we can come together and fight.
And win the next general election?
I think it's entirely possible. Entirely possible, yes.
What do you say?
It's absolutely essential that we unite and fight to win the next general election. My constituents, people all across the country, need to see a Labour government. And what this leadership campaign has been about is making sure that we are a credible party of opposition and a government in waiting. And with Jeremy now re-elected as leader, that needs to be the priority, and the priority
Does he have to change the way he performs, particularly, behaves, includes his MPs, in order to win that next election, which you say he's capable of doing?
What we've always known is that for parties to win general elections, to win any elections, we have to be united, we have to be purposeful, we have to be focused. And that's the challenge for all of us.
But the boss has to be seen as a Prime Minister in waiting. Do you think Jeremy Corbyn is seen as a Prime Minister in waiting by the wider electorate?
I think what we actually need to see first and foremost is a united and effective opposition, and that's the first priority for us, 4 years out from a general election, if Theresa May is to be taken at her word. That then begins to build us back on the road to taking power. It is really crucial that we're on that road. People need a Labour government, but we won't do that if we're a divided party, and so it's incumbent on all of us, members of Parliament, all members of the party, and the leader of the party, to make sure that we work together now and get our message across.
OK. We've got a statement here from Owen Smith, which I'd like to read to you, if I may. I want to congratulate Jeremy Corbyn on his clear win in this leadership contest. There is no doubt that the Labour Party has changed under his leadership. He's mobilised huge numbers of people over the last 12 months, many of whom are here at conference in Liverpool, and he deserves the credit for that and for winning this contest so decisively. I'm humbled by the more than 193,000 members, supporters and trade union members who have put their faith in me, and I want to say a big thank you to them. It's been a privilege to meet so many of you who've given so much of your lives to Labour, and I promise to continue to work for what we all believe in. It's been a huge honour for me to stand for leader of our great party, and I'm also deeply grateful to my parliamentary colleagues for nominating me. I entered this race because I didn't think Jeremy was providing the leadership we needed, and because I felt we must renew our party to win back the voters' trust and respect. However, I fully accept and respect the result, and I will reflect carefully on it and on what role I might play in future to help Labour win again for the British people. And that's interesting because he's made it clear he would not serve in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet were Jeremy Corbyn to win again. But anyway, let me continue. The statement from Owen Smith goes on. I have no time for talk of a split in the Labour movement. That's also interesting because he's predicted that that's what would happen to Labour should Jeremy Corbyn win. It's Labour or nothing for me, Mr Smith continues. And although today's result shows that our movement remains divided, it now falls primarily to Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader to heal those divisions and to unite our movement. We have to turn round our dire opinion poll ratings and take on this right-wing failing Tory government. Jeremy has won the contest, he now has to win the country, and he will have my support in trying to do so. What do you make of that, Kate Green, as chair of the Owen Smith campaign, which ultimately failed?
Well, I think what that says is that the ultimate test of the Labour Party, of the Labour leadership, is that we have to get into power. And we were not on track to do that before this summer. We haven't been on track to do it during this summer. Now we have to concentrate all our resources and effort on making sure that we are a party that's back on track to power. And the leader of our party, Jeremy Corbyn, has to spearhead that effort, spearhead that attack. Owen and all of the people who've supported Owen's campaign, and we're very proud, as Owen says, of the hundreds of thousands of people who have, we need to come together behind Jeremy to support that endeavour, and we will. But there are different ways of serving, and as you say, Owen has been saying quite clearly that he needs some time to reflect what best his contribution can be. But I'm very clear, having worked with Owen over the summer, having seen the way he's campaigned, a campaign I've been very proud to have been part of, that he has an enormous amount to offer our movement, and he will offer it.
OK, thank you very much, Kate Green. Thank you, Chris Matheson. Thanks for your time as well. Thank you. Right, let's talk to Andy Gill now, who's in Castleford Market in Yorkshire. Hello, Andy. Afternoon.
Hello, yes, this is a solid Labour seat, Castleford, part of Yvette Cooper's seat, of course. I have with me Michael Miller, who's a politics student who campaigned for Owen Smith. Richard Tiffin, who's a member of Leeds Momentum, of course, is pro-Corbyn. Michael Miller, you campaigned for Owen Smith. Your reaction to the result today, please?
Well, it's obviously hugely disappointing, but not particularly surprising given recent polls. Look, I campaigned for Owen Smith because I think Jeremy Corbyn is unelectable. At the same time, you have to respect that he's been given a huge renewed mandate today. I have to respect that all Owen Smith supporters do, and also the members of the Parliamentary Labour Party do. That means getting behind the leadership, even if you don't agree with him, and saying we need to come together at this time because the Conservative Party is ruling in a really hard right way, and official opposition is needed more than ever, I think.
So you will get behind Jeremy Corbyn, but how many of Owen Smith's supporters, how many people on that part of the Labour Party do you think will do the same?
I think the vast majority will, both because the Labour Party has always been a broad church of opinion, and it's going to remain like that. And also, there isn't really anywhere to go. Like, people are suggesting a split might happen, but it won't. Primarily, I'd say, because of such a weak options. For example, Lib Dems, only 8 MPs. It's not a viable party for government. The Labour Party will be the only one that can win against the Conservative Party.
What would you like to see Jeremy Corbyn doing now to bring people together and make Labour more attractive to the wider electorate?
Well, he needs to start by dismissing any ideas that deselection of MPs could happen. As long as the Parliamentary Party stops openly opposing him, then this idea that we should deselect MPs should be completely dismissed. At the same time, his media strategy needs to improve, and he also needs to start talking to the wider electorate. I think there's a lot of focus on Momentum members and their ideas currently, but unfortunately, even though we have a huge selectorate, and that's really great that we have such a big membership of a party, that doesn't translate into election-winning results.
Richard Tiffin of Momentum Leeds, do you agree? Does Jeremy Corbyn need to change things to appeal to people?
I wouldn't say to appeal to people. I think the policies we're going forward with are the policies that are going to appeal to the people that we need to appeal to. Large swathes of people who stopped voting Labour in the past for whatever their reason. But we're of the opinion that what we need to do is make sure that their lives improve. And that means policies that help them so that we can go back to what the Labour Party was.
But can Corbyn do that? Can he have that wider appeal?
Yeah, I fundamentally believe he can. I think that the fact that Corbyn's been elected and increased the party membership to over 500,000 people shows an appeal. We can look at the 4 past by-elections, all of which the Labour Party has won. Council elections from a very high watermark in May retain that high watermark. I think 4 mayoral elections. I think it's very clear that we can appeal, and I'm not so sure that people who keep arguing that we can't actually look at the evidence.
OK, Richard Tiffin and Michael Miller from Castleford Market. Back to you, Victoria.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We've got 2 gentlemen here who are from 2 different unions chatting away. Tim Roach, who's the General Secretary of the GMB Union. They backed Owen Smith in this leadership race, and Mick Whelan is here from ASLEF. They backed Mr Corbyn. Hello, both of you. This reaction from Nigel Farage on Twitter. Jeremy Corbyn's re-election as Labour leader is great news for UKIP. Is it?
I think it's great news for working people. I think it's a resounding victory. I think he has a mandate for the 2nd time in less than 12 months. He won in every single constituency of the Labour Party. I think that's important. I think now it's time for the party to unite behind the democratically elected leader and give working people in this country what they so richly deserve. I think the reason we've seen the rise of UKIP is because Labour has frankly been infighting. We've been contemplating our own navel, and working people don't want to know that.
And also perhaps because Labour has nothing to say about managed migration, which has been a worry for some working class supporters who would naturally vote Labour.
Well, clearly we need to look at the free movement of labour, but we need to look at it from an economic point of view rather than just a social point of view, because yes, it has impact on workers and jobs, but that isn't about Polish people coming over here and undercutting wage rates and taking people's jobs.
Well, it is for some voters.
But it isn't, because that's about unscrupulous employers who can, in 2016 Tory Britain, drive down pay rates and use worker against worker. That's the real issue, and that's what needs to be stamped out.
Quite possibly, maybe people should look at the last manifesto. I'm quite sure it was in the last manifesto about changing the laws that you had to pay the right rate for the job, and you couldn't bring people in undercut wages, which has gone a long way to offset
and that was the manifesto that was rejected by the wider electorate. I'm talking about Mr Corbyn in particular. having some kind of message that resonates with Labour voters when it comes to immigration.
Oh, I think he does, and he will. I mean, it's a work in progress. The reality, the unnecessary distraction of this leadership election would have led to the development of the policies that were in a process of being done. We have a new leader of the Tory party that hasn't been elected by the electorate, and they're in all sorts of difficult places over Brexit. And I think the whole political movement, nobody actually expected Brexit to happen. Nobody had a fallback position, and nobody then realised what they were going to have to do in relation to now what are going to become greater issues for the UK economy.
And I think we can't understate the fact that Theresa May hasn't been elected by the country. She was elected by less people than will be at the Labour Party conference this week. That's the reality of what we face. I mean, that's no mandate to run a country at all. But also, what we've seen with the Conservatives is the business secretary having a go at big business. We've seen the health secretary having a go at doctors. We see the foreign secretary who doesn't like foreigners. That's the sort of state this country's in under the Tories. Now we've got the Labour Party leadership election out of the way. We need to unite behind Jeremy Corbyn. That's exactly what we'll be doing. And we'll be holding these Tories to account and showing exactly what working people need.
Your union didn't back Jeremy Corbyn in this contest. Yes. For whatever reasons, you didn't. And now you're saying, we're backing him. He is good enough after all. That's not going to ring true with some people.
That's democracy. And the reality is, for all of us involved in this, Jeremy's words today resonate and what we should all follow. Right? It's been an election. Sometimes they've got fractures. People sometimes say things they don't mean. But now it's over. We come together to do the job of the Labour Party, which is to provide a government in the future, but in the interim, provide a viable opposition.
Absolutely.
What do you say to those Labour MPs who've been opponents of their boss, effectively, over a number of months? I mean, there are some who think they might face deselection because of the forthcoming boundary review. It's an opportunity for Mr Corbyn and his allies to select pro-Corbyn parliamentary candidates, or they might think, well, we're going to face defeat at the next general election, so I may as well agitate and irritate and organise.
I think we need to change the culture of the debate entirely. This isn't about whether you're pro or anti-Jeremy Corbyn, and I'm talking now from the perspective of trade unions, from the perspective of the Parliamentary Labour Party and MPs. What I'm talking about here is it's no longer do you support Jeremy Corbyn or not. This is about, do you want a Labour Party that will hold the Tories to account? Do you want a Labour Party that will take us to victory and start working in favour and on behalf of working people? Jeremy Corbyn has a mandate to do that. We need to unite behind him. Anyone who dissent from that is frankly not about Jeremy Corbyn, it's about anti-Labour Party. And we have no truck with that whatsoever, Victoria.
Okay.
And the first thing we should be doing, both as a party and a trade union movement, is campaigning and overturning the gerrymandering of the boundary changes. They're based
on gerrymandering?
Yeah, basically it's quite simple. They're based upon figures that are out of date. 2 million people have been taken off of the electoral roll because of the Tories' processes. So the figures of the boundaries and the actual selection process is now incorrect and it needs to be revisited. At the same time,
where is the gerrymandering, though?
The gerrymandering is that they're going ahead with it, knowing that the figures are incorrect. And the whole ethos of it was about cutting the cost of politics, whereas at the same time, they put so many people into the House of Lords, there is no saving and the cost will get greater and greater.
OK, thank you, both of you. Thank you very much for your time. Tim Roach from the GMB Union, he's the General Secretary. They backed Owen Smith, and Mick Whelan from ASLEF, a union which backed Jeremy Corbyn. Here is Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London's reaction. Congratulations to Jeremy, who's clearly won the support of Labour members and supporters. The most important thing now is that our party pulls together and focuses every effort on winning the next general election. And Sadiq Khan was an Owen Smith supporter. Norman, that is the message from absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
The Labour Party has to unite.
I mean, no surprise, you know, people come out of the leadership contest, of course they're going to say unity, unity, unity. You wouldn't expect anything else. It's like, you know, if your wife asks you, the dress I'm wearing, is it nice? Of course you say yes, you have to. It doesn't get away from the fact that this is a party which, I mean, I think this result shows, is still deeply divided over the issue of Mr Corbyn. Yes, he attracts a lot of vociferous support, but equally there are a lot of people who are deeply, deeply uncomfortable with his leadership. The one thing I think we get from today, which is true, is that Jeremy Corbyn is now politically bomb-proof until the next election. The idea of further leadership challenges is for the birds. There is no way his critics could credibly mount another challenge against him. Who on earth is going to be their candidate? They've been beaten twice. Mr Corbyn has increased the size of the party. He's brought in 40,000 new members. They tried to stop him getting on the ballot paper. They have done everything and failed. In fact, he's increased his majority. So the one fact we get from today, I think, is Jeremy Corbyn will lead the Labour Party into the next general election, for better or worse.
OK. Thank you very much. Thank you, Norman Smith, for the moment. Well, as you may have gathered, Jeremy Corbyn is still leader of the Labour Party with a bigger mandate than a year ago. In a moment, the news is coming up on BBC One. We'll leave you with a look back at events this morning here at the Labour conference in Liverpool. Have a good afternoon.
Please welcome the 2016 leadership candidates, Jeremy Corbyn and Owen Smith.
The votes cast for each candidate are as follows. Jeremy Corbyn, 313,000. Owen Smith, 193,229. I'm therefore conference delighted to declare Jeremy Corbyn elected as leader.
I want to thank the more than 300,000 supporters who have given me their support and trust in this Labour leadership election. I'm honoured to have won the votes of a majority of members, affiliated supporters and registered supporters who have given me the second mandate in a year to lead our party.